Welcome to the Scoop World Order. What a weekend for Ohio sports. From top to bottom, the Cavs game 7. Ohio State football, despite the players being off graduation this weekend, had a humongous secret unofficial visit weekend. The best player in the country, in my opinion, was on campus for the third time in less than a few months. I'll have an official visit coming up in a couple of months. And a couple star defensive linemen were also on campus. We're going to get into all that. Shout out to Town Hall for kind of breaking that. It was actually stupendous. A lot of people like Buckeye Scoop down at Town Hall, and that's where they take these kids. So that was fantastic, and hope they had a great time. But when a kid like David Sanders Jr. is on campus 3 times in less than 2 months, I think you better pay attention to that, especially when it's an unofficial visit, because those were paid out of his own pocket. This is not an unofficial situation, so the official visits are going to be starting up very soon here at Ohio State. They can knock these out in the summer, which has been fantastic. So we're going to get into all that, as always. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every night, you guys and gals. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Honestly, one of the best sports weekends of all time for me. I've never seen anything like it. Great UFC card last night. Maybe the best Kentucky Derby ever in terms of the photo finish. Cavs win game 7. The hockey playoffs have been incredible. There's a game 7 you're ready to rip off with Vegas and Dallas, but just a great sports weekend. I hope you had some good time with your family. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every night. With that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please click that like button. That is huge for growing our channel. Click subscribe, which is also huge. It helps us, it helps people find the show. It helps people enjoy the show. Again, we appreciate it. We're cranking content each and every night, so it's been a blast to do this with you. And if you guys really love the live shows, make sure you click that alert bell. It'll give you an alert every single time we go live. In the comments, who is the one recruit that you want Ohio State to get the most that is still out there? Is it David Sanders Jr.? I think he's the answer. He's a prototype left tackle. He's Paris Johnson 2.0. Again, I don't know what else you need to close a kid like David Sanders Jr., given that we just had Paris go 6 overall in the draft. Kind of the prototypical situation for a left tackle. These kids want to be 3 and out. They want to go first round. They want to graduate. And Paris did everything. First team All-American, got a tree in the grove. Basically did everything he could do from an individual perspective. Obviously, he would have liked to beat Michigan. He would have liked to win the national championship. But from an individual perspective, Paris had as good of a career as anyone's had at Ohio State. So if I'm David Sanders Jr., I was like, well, that was a couple years ago. And Paris and his mom, Monica Johnson, would speak glowingly. Monica Daniels. Now, sorry, Mike. Monica is now remarried. She was Monica Johnson when Paris is getting recruited. Now she's Monica Daniels. But yeah, prototypical career. And I think that's appealing to David Sanders. And that happened under Justin Fry. Justin Fry had Paris his last year. Helped propel him into being the 6th overall pick. And I think that that's a good feather in Justin's cap as he does this recruitment along with Ryan Day and Mickey Marotti. Tonight, I'm actually flying solo. Nevada had an event that he had to deal with his family. So again, Nevada is always on here. He will be back here tomorrow. But again, we try to bring you guys content each and every night. So I'm excited to do that. So this will be a Scoop Ultra chat. So if you guys are members of Scoop Ultra, you guys get a free super chat. So in the chat, I have the chat tuned up right now. If you're a Scoop Ultra member, ask a question. I'll throw it on the screen. Same as a super chat, but this is one of the perks of being one of our Ultra members is we do these periodically. So if you guys are Ultra members, go ahead and ask questions and I'll toss those on the screen and answer them for you. But I want to get into David Sanders a little bit because this is a very interesting one. Again, he kind of snuck up here this weekend. This was a great weekend for these kids. The weather was decent, a little rainy yesterday, but it was beautiful today. I think the weather is a little bit important because you want these kids to have a good impression of Columbus. Something that's kind of silly that some of you guys are going to laugh about is Gunna was in the building. Gunna is one of the biggest rappers in the world right now, and he was in the building. So there was a lot of imagery of here he is with Sunny Style. He was wearing a Sunny Styles jersey, which is kind of hilarious. But this guy, number 6, for those of you guys that are not familiar, is one of the biggest rappers in the world, Gunna. He had a concert at the Shot. So there he is with Leif and Ransom, Sunny Styles, and a bunch of the other guys. So that's kind of cool. I mean, again, that's like something you can't ever count on for an unofficial visit. But when one of the biggest rappers in the world is in the building, it never hurts, I don't think, as little cachet. And he was tweeting at Ohio State. He was walking along in the Woody. The guys were all obviously getting their photos with Gunna. So yeah, this was cool. Like anytime you can mix in a little bit of the pop culture with the team, especially when he's wearing like one of our guys' jerseys, I think it's really cool. Especially when you have kids that are in from out of town, and they see a guy who's like again one of the biggest rappers in the world right now. I thought that was awesome. So Ohio State's good about that. They're really good about bringing in people if they've got musical acts that are on tour and they can actually make it into the Woody. They bring them in. They make sure they get good video. They promote it on social media. And again, I don't think it ever hurts the brand when you've got some of the biggest artists in the world wearing the. Now, some guys, sometimes it's hard to get certain guys just because some of these guys, like they're flying in on a private jet, they go right onto the stage. But I know that they've been working hard to do that. So I thought that was cool. So Lathan and those guys were kicking it. Obviously, that was a really big show. But David Sanders is a guy that I think I'm going to toss his film on because I love watching his film because he's everything we want. I mean, he's the kind of guy who really can dominate. You know what? I'm going to toss his lift on here if I can find it. He was hitting a hang clean the other day, and it was a really, really impressive lift. And I wanted to throw this on here because I wanted to talk about kind of the importance to this lift because I sometimes people ask me. What are the most important lifts? And so this is obviously a hang clean. If you guys have done CrossFit or if you guys just were athletes in high school, hang cleans are very, very important for explosion. But for offensive linemen, I think that this, along with squats, are the two best lifts you can do. And here he's hang cleaning 315, that's a great figure for a senior high school. My senior year, I did 265, I think, one time, and he does 315 3 times, and it's easy. And you see his explosion, his bend, you can see his frame, but like his athleticism and his explosion, this is like Paris Johnson. This is like the kind of guy that we're going to a first round pick. And again, his diet will only get better. His strength will only get better because he's still a young kid. He's probably 17 years old, maybe 18. And this is a great lift for pass protection. So, and a lot of you guys ask like, what's critical for pass protection when you're building a left tackle or building a guy on the edge who has to be able to pass protect? And a hang clean, it very much it emulates getting force into the ground versus a bull rush. Which is something that's really important. Obviously, when you're playing against some of the best players in the league, they usually have 1 or 2 moves, and they always have a good bull rush to go with it. And you have to be able to sit down and stop a guy. And again, this also, it helps your snap out of your stance, how quick you can get back in your vertical set. So again, this kid posting this lift is more impressive than him benching 500 pounds or benching 400 pounds or whatever. And the way he does it with such ease is frankly incredible. So this was something that as much as we watched his game tape and I'm about to flick that on, this is something I just wanted you guys to see because it looks silly, and obviously he's only done 3. This is a video that's on a loop, but this is something that, like, if I was an offensive line coach and I saw this lift from a kid who's this lean and this explosive, like I would get even more excited because this kid's he's obviously in a serious conditioning program at his high school. He obviously takes lifting seriously because, again, this is a lift that not a lot of kids can make. I'm just being honest. Not a lot of kids in high school are hang cleaning 315 3 times that aren't like power lifters. I'm talking like a real athlete. There's always kids that are bodybuilders and that type of thing in high school, but that doesn't mean that they can genetically do something like that. Because, the prototype, I'm going to put the prototype on the screen for a tackle to me is Orlando. And, this is a guy that had exceptional strength. But the biggest thing he had was explosion and twitch, so he was a twitched up guy. Wasn't a huge bench press guy in terms of his like 225 and that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter when you're as explosive and as naturally strong as he is. Because sometimes you'll meet guys that are 400-pound benchers and they get on the field and they play like they're 200-pound benchers. And then you'll meet guys that are just naturally just stronger than anybody on earth. Like I don't think DeWand would be a huge bench press guy, but he's so big and he's so explosive and so powerful that he's a dominant force on the field. And that's what Orlando is. Obviously, Orlando's in a different galaxy from anybody that's ever played at Ohio State, but that's kind of the mold you're getting to. I think David is a lot closer to Paris. Paris is about as tall. He's much leaner than Orlando. I mean, Orlando was probably 335. Paris is probably 310, maybe 315, 6'7". Orlando's a much better run blocker than Paris. I mean, Orlando's better at everything than anybody. I mean, there's never been a better pass blocker or run blocker than Orlando. So he's the prototype. But that's what we're looking for in a left tackle. Super excited about David Sanders, though. I'm gonna toss this film on here real quick, and I'm gonna scan for your photos, your questions. Here's David's junior season stuff. Again, this is exceptional tape. Obviously, he's playing left tackle. Here he is on the tunnel screen, obliterating a kid, putting him into the bench, which, that's just, you love the violence, you love the physicality, you love the toughness. So, again, I love that. I'm going to, let me see if I got any super chat ones. Gia, I'm going to get your super chat going real quick, just so it doesn't get buried. I think Fahim Deline is a very important target for us. I agree as well. I think he's fantastic on the back end. I think from a depth perspective, he's fantastic. But, David Sanders, man, as a tackle, our tackle depth chart is kind of a barren wasteland right now. I mean, there's a shot we could lose Josh Simmons after this year. Obviously, Fryer's absolutely gone after this year. So there's, open for business. There's vacancy there. So if you could get, David Sanders and Carter Lowe in the same class, that'd be as good of a tackle class as we've ever had. So it'll be interesting. Again, this is a huge class for Justin Fry, but it's a huge class for Ryan Day. I mean, I know everybody likes to bang on Justin Fry, but when you get into these national level recruits and you get a guy like David Sanders in the class, like you have to understand, like, he becomes Ryan Day's recruit just as much as Justin Fry's. Because, when you're the top guy in the country, like, the head coach has to be knee deep in that one. It's just like with Urban Meyer, like, when Paris was involved, like, it wasn't just Greg Studoir closing that thing out. That was Urban Meyer. Like, that's what you need everybody. Like, you need to empty the clip to get every ounce of goodwill and every ounce of comfort. And you need, the foundation and the NIL to step up. I mean, that's how you close these guys. It's like with JJ Smith, like, obviously Brian Hartline has been a wizard when it comes to closing receivers, but, you got to have Ryan Day involved in that one. You got to have the NIL involved in that one. So it's not just it's not a one-man band when it comes to closing these guys out. And you're going to be in a fist fight. Like, I mean, if you're Clemson and Dabo, Kirby Smart, I mean, the who's who of college football are going after David Sanders. And it's not going to be over until he's on campus. So, I mean, he's going to sign in December. And I just think that Ohio State, with what they're building and the type of class they're building, and the quarterback they're bringing in. Because, again, if I'm the left tackle, I want to know who's my quarterback going to be. So when you're bringing in Tavian St. Clair, I mean, you're getting the best quarterback in the country in the class to come with you. So your life's going to be good. Like, again, you don't want to go somewhere where you don't have a great quarterback running the show, who's a leader. And Tavian has got, I mean, he's improved as much as any player in the country over the past year. I mean, it's almost been incredible how much work he's put in his exponential growth, because he's built like a tank. He's got a great arm, a great kid, great leader. So I think he's going to lead this class into something that's going to be spectacular, in my opinion. But I agree with you. Fahim Deline would be great, but I look at our depth at safety, man, and our safeties and corners, like our back end guys, I think are really, really strong right now. Obviously, you can never have enough offensive linemen, offensive tackles. I think it's just such a hard projection sometimes, and there's so few kids that are like David Sanders who look like can't miss prospects, can't miss. He's not a conversion. He's not a tight end to a tackle. He's not a defensive tackle to a tackle. Like, he's a true pure offensive tackle. And frankly, there's just not a lot of guys that can come in flat out and be that guy. And thankfully, we got Carter Lowe already in the fold, and he's a fantastic prospect. And I think those two guys could be the top two tackles in the country. So it makes a great set of bookends to start things up in Columbus. And again, I think that's what you need. But if I'm David Sanders, again, if I'm Justin Fry, I'm doing this pitch, I'm saying, David, look, we just put Paris in the league. We feel like you could be a 3-and-out type kid. We're going to develop you like you're a 3-and-out type kid. And we just want to have the option for you. Because, again, that's the thing. I always tell these kids, I'm like, look, all you want is the option to be able to declare after 3 years. Because some guys, they don't have that because they haven't done anything. They haven't played. They haven't made their mark yet. They're not on the draft radar. But we want you to have the option to do that. And then you can always come back. Like perfect example is Trey Henderson. Trey Henderson's a guy, after his freshman year, I would have said there isn't a chance in the universe that he's coming back for his senior year. And, the kid, with NIL, with, a few injuries, with kind of going out with a sour taste in his mouth between the Michigan game and the Missouri game, he decided to come back. And I mean, he decided to come back before the Missouri game, but I just think that you look at a kid like that having that option, because with NIL, these kids have real options now. It's not just either poverty or riches. Now these kids can live a good life and be in college and enjoy being with their boys. Because I tell guys, look, I'm not some old granddad, old whatever, but college football is different than the NFL. College football, you're with your boys. Everyone on the team is between the age of 18 to 23 in general. As these COVID kids are moving on, the 6th year and 7th year and whatever, 8th year guys, most of the kids are 18 to 22, 23. So it's a much different dynamic than when you get to the NFL. When you get to the NFL, you walk in that locker room as a 23-year-old, or some of these guys 21, 22 if they declare early. And there's guys that are 35 with 3 kids, a wife, 2 houses, whatever. There's guys that have wildly varying lifestyles. There's guys that are making, you walk in, like Marvin Harrison Jr. is walking in, Kyler Murray's making $40 million a year. It's just a whole different dynamic. In college, there's NIL now, and guys are making some money, some serious money. But, the variance isn't anywhere near what it is in the National Football League. And plus, in college, you get to actually relax and enjoy football because you don't get cut. You can't get cut. You can't get traded. There's not negotiating new contracts and that type of thing. So, like I said, I loved playing at Ohio State. The NFL is great, but the NFL is a job. College football to me never felt like a job, even though, we didn't get paid like what these kids do now, but I just loved it. I thought it was fun. It was always great playing for your boys. It was great. I was very blessed to play for Jim Tressel. So that was fantastic just because he was such a great human being. It was easy to play hard for him. So again, I tell these kids, if you can enjoy it, do it as best you can. The career guy, thank you. That was a great question, Jay. I appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. I think it's hilarious that Michigan fans are laughing at Ohio State's schedule and calling them soft. A lot of their fans are so delusional. Well, I mean, they feasted last year. They had the softest schedule in the history of college football last year. I'm actually going to throw that up real quick because that's an interesting point. And, there's just some years where, things kind of break right. And this is a year for Ohio State where you've got the most talented roster we've had. You've got not a soft schedule, but this isn't a tough schedule by Ohio State standpoint. And you gotta cash it in, man. I'm telling you, I'm gonna throw out Michigan's schedule from this past year. Okay, so this is obviously their past year where they won the national championship. So don't judge me for using good old Wikipedia, but it was the first thing that popped up with it. So. Last year, when they had Jim Harbaugh suspended and they had Mike Hart as a coach and Sharon Moore as a coach and, the D coordinator as a coach and whoever, they played East Carolina, who stunk, UNLV, who stunk, Bowling Green, who stunk, Rutgers, who stunk. You can't control your Big Ten, but sometimes, you hit the dice roll right in the Big Ten and you don't really get a daunting Big Ten schedule. So they played Nebraska, who's just god awful. They played Minnesota, who's awful. Indiana, awful. Michigan State, awful. Purdue, awful. Penn State was their first real game. That was the one where Harbaugh gets suspended. He's on the flight. He's not allowed to coach. So Sharon Moore goes into Happy Valley and gets a win. And that's a real one. It was 24-15. I mean, it was in Happy Valley. Drew Aller was obviously terrible. So again, was Penn State really the number 10 team in the country? I don't think so, because the quarterback play was just not there last year. And it was Drew Aller's first year starting. And I don't like to bang on kids from Ohio, but he was atrocious last year. At Maryland, which was a 7-point game. Maryland obviously was terrible. Then they beat us. They beat us 30-24. We played a terrible game. We threw basically a pick six right at the beginning of the game. They got the ball down to the 2 yard line. Our defense was stoning them up into that point. So, they beat us, and then they draw Iowa in the Big Ten. So again, that you don't get Iowa anymore in the Big Ten championship. Now you got to go play Oregon, a team that can actually, get the ball past the 15, can score 45 points on you. And then they played Bama, a Bama team that, Bama's always Bama, but there's varying degrees. I didn't think that last year was like a vintage, amazing Alabama team. And I know that you guys with brains agree with me. And then they played Washington. In Washington, like when I watched their film against Texas, I was like, there's just no way. They're so unsound defensively. They're constantly not in their right gaps defensively. They can create some chaos, but I'm like, dude, versus a team like Michigan, who's so sound fundamentally running the ball with their scheme, they're going to shred those guys. And then it's going to be in the first quarter of the game, they run for 180 yards, 200, whatever it was. They had 2 70-yard touchdowns in the first quarter. And I'm like, it's exactly what I thought it would be. And, Washington wasn't ready for the physicality of Michigan. So, again, they're undefeated. I get it. And people say there's people from Michigan side that say that's the greatest team of all time, but they didn't really beat a great team the entire season. And they won the Natty. So again, credit to them. But, that Washington team was kind of, I thought, fool's gold. Bama, they beat them in overtime, great, but I didn't think it was a great Bama team. And honestly, last year wasn't a great Ohio State team. Our defense was good, but offensively, without a star quarterback, man, it's hard to run our offense the way we'd like to. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with you that their fans are delusional, but that's just part of what they're doing. I'll throw David Sanders back up so we can watch a little bit more of this. And I'm going to get into some of the D tackles over here, but I know that I'm just seeing if I had any Scoop Ultra questions. So if you guys hit those, I'm scanning the chat right now, kind of as the one-man band. But yeah, and again, we had a couple of D tackles on campus, which was fantastic. There's Kim. She's going to be my co-host. If she didn't have to give the kids, if she didn't have to clean the kids up and get them to bed, then Kim would have been my co-host tonight. But she's doing her thing as always. She made some incredible dinner tonight, so shout out Kim, holding it down. She gets it ready. I usually work out before I get on here, so she gets it ready, and then I am ready to roll. All right, Buck Nasty. This is our first question. I found one. So if you guys have any other ones, just holler at me, Scoop Ultra members. Who's the best offensive line coach in the country, and what makes him so great? Well, it's really tough because I liked what Cristobal did at Oregon. I thought he was good, and he was good at Bama as well. I think Kyle Flood at Texas does a great job. I think Harry Hiestand is retired. He was at Notre Dame, but he developed Joe Alt, and everywhere Harry went, the lines always improved dramatically. And like I tell people, it's not because he's, a happy-go-lucky, kind-hearted sweetheart of a man. He is a very, very nasty and demanding person. And again, not nasty like the sense of demeaning, but just when you play for Harry Hiestand, he demands that you play with a very nasty edge. And I loved that. And when I played for the Bears, we had Olin Kreutz and some of those guys. I mean, and even before I was there, they had Reuben Brown and Big Cat Williams, and those guys they played hard and they played violent and to the whistle, and they were, enforcers on the offense. And I loved that. I thought it was amazing. But it's usually the usual suspects. I think, coaching is obviously, I think Kirk Ferentz is as good of a line coach as there's ever been. Iowa puts guys into the league. They've been down recently, but when he was running the show, and Joe Philbin was his line coach who was with us last year, he's with the Vegas Raiders now. I thought he did a great job of, just from a technical perspective, of his guys are always, you turn the film on and there's a lot of synchrony. The footwork is great. The combination blocks. A combination block is basically just a double team block. I don't try to use big fancy terms, but a combination block is just a double team block. So he was good. I mean, I used to joke that the best offensive line coach in the country when I was around was Urban Meyer because of his scheme. Because I think that, the line coaching is important because you have to have guys demand execution from the offensive line. You have to have guys demand communication. There has to be that chemistry, that symmetry between guys to work together. But it's really a position that does take a village. And again, I'm not saying that as a cop out. I'm just saying, like, look, if you don't have a great strength and conditioning coach like Mickey Marotti, it's hard to have a great offensive line. Like, Mickey's the best in the world at developing kids. And I know that he has detractors and people say Mickey sucks and he's old and he does stuff that he doesn't do enough Taibo and feng shui and yoga and whatever. But like, dude, look at what he did to Paris Johnson. Look what he did to DeJuan Jones. Like, look what he did to Donnie Jackson. And I mean, these guys have developed into just specimens of players. What he's done with Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons might be, I mean, he's as athletic of an offensive tackle as there is in the country. That doesn't mean he's the best offensive tackle in the country, but the kid can fly. Great athlete. He's gotten much stronger. He just joined the team at this time last year. So, I mean, his head was in a blender basically for the entire season last year because, like, he's learning the playbook. He's learning the culture of Ohio State football, of that weight room, because that weight room is no joke. And if you haven't been in it and you're at San Diego State where they probably go surfing for their workouts, it's a whole different mentality as opposed to what Mickey Marotti demands in the summer. And I think that, I think Josh is going to have a big year. I think he could be an all Big Ten tackle. And he's the guy that I think that, he's the guy that he's a classic underachiever. He'll achieve to a certain level because he's just so incredibly talented. But this is a guy that Mickey and Justin Fry and Ryan Day have just got to, and especially Chip Kelly, because he's the new eyes on the situation. They need to wear this kid out, and they just got to push him into greatness, because there's some kids that don't have the motor to be great naturally, and you just got to constantly prod him and push him. But when you look up and he's getting drafted in the first or second round, then I think people are going to say, yeah, it was worth us poking and prodding him and pushing him along to be where he needed to be. Because a lot of times, like, you need these coaches, that's why they call you coach. Like, I mean, your job is to get the most out of these guys and develop them and to maximize what those guys can do. And I think that that's something that Josh Simmons needs. And again, like, I think all these guys need. I think Paris, like, a guy like DeJuan, who was a basketball player and loved basketball and didn't really understand football, didn't understand how rich he could be playing football. He needed Greg Studoir and Mickey and Justin Fry at the very end to kind of, push him into becoming, a football player and saying, hey, look, you're not a multi-sport guy anymore. Football is your profession. It's your life. And you got to treat it like that. And, DeJuan went into the NFL last year, and when his name was called, he played fantastic football for the Browns. And he's playing tackle versus, in that division, they're playing the Ravens. They're playing TJ Watt and the Steelers. They're playing the Bengals, who had Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. They're playing some of the best defensive ends in the league. And then your off schedule is you're playing Nick Bosa and the 49ers. I mean, DeJuan didn't have any breaks last year, and he did a fantastic job for a rookie versus guys that are some of the best pass rushers in the league. So I think, but I think Justin's developing. I think Chip Kelly's going to be a huge help for him. I thought Jim Harbaugh was a great line coach. Even though he's a quarterback and a head coach, he demands that the offensive line is great. And that starts with him, his strength coach, his scheme. And that's why I think Sherrone Moore is kind of an empty suit. I know that people have high hopes for him in Ann Arbor, but I've seen this movie before, like when the superstar of the outfit leaves and then all of a sudden the backup singer takes his place. Like, it doesn't really sound the same, and you don't really fill up the stadiums like you did when you had Mick Jagger there. Because Harbaugh, like, he just goes to LA and he takes Joe Alt. A lot of mock drafts had him taking Malik Neighbors and a flashy wide receiver, but first thing he does, and he already has an all-pro left tackle in Rashawn Slater, and he takes Joe Alt. So he set the tone right away that we're going to have the best pair of tackles in the entire NFL, which he does now, and we're going to build the team from the inside out. And when the line's dominant, then all of a sudden the defense is better. Justin Herbert's better. The running game is instantly better. J.K. Dobbins is going to be better. He's probably going to be their feature back, him or Gus Edwards. So I don't know. I think it's the O-line coach is interesting because as much as it is important to be a great line coach like Justin Fry, I thought Greg Studoir did a great job. I thought our line was good. I know people hated him for whatever reason, but we had more 5 stars under him than any coach in Ohio State history. So he was doing something right. And I don't know if that was because of him or if it's because of Urban Meyer or if it's because of something else, but we were getting a lot of those guys. So I I like Harry Houston. I mean, because I played for him. I know what he does. I think he's out of it. I think he's retired, but these guys in coaching never really retire. Let me see. Any other questions from you guys? I love the Michigan fans. You guys love calling my boys trolls. Portsmouth, what's up? Dwight, we are going to be down there soon, my man. We're going to go to the river. So get on BuckeyeScoop.com, and we will let you know when we are down there. So I do too, Coconut Dreams. I'm telling you, Wikipedia is as bad as it is. I mean, I don't cite it in an academic paper when I used to have to write my thesis papers in history, but if it's got something like a schedule and it's the first thing that pops up, like I'm not against that. So 4.0 creator, thank you for being an Ultra member. Again, this is an Ultra chat. So if you guys have questions and you're a Scoop Ultra member, toss it on there and I'll treat it just like a super chat tonight. Hey, Kirk, as an offensive lineman, how much difference is it if you know what the defense is calling? I mean, it's just like anything in life. If you know what your opponent has, again, a lot of you guys have played poker. You guys could be playing like, I mean, if you play the most rudimentary like board game, you guys play like Clue, where you have to guess who murdered Mr. Body, and everyone has different cards in their hands, and you have to figure out if they use the wrench or the lead pipe or if it was in the conservatory or the study or Colonel Mustard or Miss Peacock or whatever. Like, if you know what everybody else has in the cards, you can instantly win the game because like by deductive reasoning, you can figure out who's in the little folder. Like I used to love playing Clue as a little kid. So if you know the defense, your offense should be completely unstoppable. I'm talking completely. And again, there were times where, and your second part of your question is how much would that help you look good for the Joe Moore Award? Or did Michigan just have massive players? And they say OH, I'm going to say IO. I'm subbing for Nevada tonight. I think, here's the thing. Knowing the plays when you are a player is as important of a thing as you could ever know on defense. Like if I could go out there and I knew, like, say a corner blitz was coming, and we could change our pass protection right into the perfect protection to pick up a cornerback coming off the edge, it changes everything. And again, that's something that's why guys study film, because you're looking for clues, you're looking for hints, you're looking for, okay, when this guy puts this hand on the ground, he's slanting. If he switches his hand for whatever reason, he's rushing. If this safety, like a big one we used to always do is we'd read the safeties. Like that was something that Jim Bowman taught us when we were young. Is when you're tackling, when you're up in the 2 point, you should look at the two safeties, because the safeties can tell you where the blitz is coming from, because generally they're the guys that have to kind of roll. They say rock and roll, move the safeties back and forth to fix the coverage if a pressure is coming from one way, especially like with a zone blitz. So let me see if I got a quick little. Let me get my boy. I'll get my boy Autry on here, but I'll kind of gin something up here. But I'd like to draw this for you guys. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. But if you can tell where guys are coming from based upon the safety alignment, it makes it impossible not to be able to pick up a blitz. You know what I mean? Because you'll literally be able to pick everything up, move it right into everything. Okay, so this is just like a field example. So I'm gonna throw this on here real quick. So this is actually this is Malik Autry's film. We're gonna watch a little bit of it here in a second. But say let me see if I got a better shot where it's a little bit wider. You can't really see the safeties here, but a lot of times, pre-snap, if you look at a kid, I think that this is a linebacker here, but a lot of times you'd have like a deep safety. I'm seeing if I can get the opposite angle, and we'd always look at the safety. So here, okay, this is a safety right here. So we used to always put a $sign for the safety, because in football you have what they call a Sam linebacker, usually a strong side linebacker. And, he's probably walked out over here. this safety's back. Here's a Will linebacker. Here's a Mike linebacker. Here's a Buck. Here's an end. Here's a tackle. Here's a nose. So, and some people will call this an end too, but I call it, we'd always call it a Buck, because a Buck would be like the weak side defensive end. Or if you have a 3-down look, he'd be the guy that would be the stand-up defensive end a lot. But a lot of times you'll have like a free safety or something. And if you have a free safety back here, so like where this F is, you can see this little F down here. If he starts moving off the hash this way, which again, you guys, this is a bad look because you guys can't see because it's going into Nevadabuck thing. If the safety moves and you see this corner over here, see where that C is, and you see him creeping, there's a good shot that he's coming. It's going to be a quarter blitz. So I'm going to play this real quick. So if you see this corner kind of, edging in a little bit, and you see where his eyes are, like if I'm this tackle right here, I'm looking right at the safety right here. And if this safety, this free safety starts moving off the hash this way, like you get a little arrow here, then all of a sudden, the next thing I'm looking at is the corner. So my eyes go to the corner, and I check that corner, and if I see his head turned in looking at the ball, and he's bouncing it all, then all of a sudden that there's a corner blitz coming from the short side of the field on your corner. And again, if I knew that because of a signal, and again, the whole reason I'm explaining this is because you mentioned if you knew what the defense was, and say I knew it was a corner blitz, like you literally could change the entire play. And as soon as this corner goes, the quarterback could catch the ball, throw it hot, and then it's going to be him and the free safety one-on-one. And if this is, a Mecca or, JJ versus a free safety who's got to roll over and make that play, there's a chance he could take it to the house, So, again, I'm just trying to explain like how important it is. Like, when we talk about Michigan knowing the plays and how big of an advantage it was, that's why. Because if I'm out there, there's a thing you go through as a coach, especially as a young coach, when you want your offensive line to do good and look good and whatever, especially like if maybe we're not playing great or whatever, trying to build some confidence. Like, when you're looking at the script in practice and it says corner blitz, like, when I would run the scout team, which would be like it'd be all the walk-ons and the younger players that would be on the scout team. And this would be like the first team offense. This would be like Jack Mewhort, and this would be Corey Lindsley, and this would be Reed Fragel, and this is Braxton. Like, I want Jack Mewhort to see the corner blitz on his own. Like, I want him to look at the keys. I want him to look at the safety. I want him to see him moving over. Because I would tell the scout team guys exactly what to do. I'd say, hey, get on that hash and start scooting over. Like when the quarterback is going through his kind of, when he's bobbing his head, getting ready to snap it to Braxton. And I would want Jack to start pointing it out and pointing out, we call it a cat blitz, like corner blitz. So we call it a cat, CAT. And I say, hey, I want to start pointing at it. And then, Braxton would literally have to change the protection and we'd be able to pick it all up. So, like I said, if these guys knew what was coming, it's such an incredible advantage. And that's why it's comical to me when people will talk about how, it's not that big of an advantage. It's not that, it's just, they beat us fair and square. I was like, it's why counting cards is illegal. It's why, any sort of, benefit you could get from knowing what is coming or what someone else has in their hand. If you're playing poker or blackjack, it's the same thing. It's a humongous, it's literally, it makes everything basically unbeatable. But I'm going to throw on Malik Altry, his film. This is a really fun film to watch. I downloaded this for you guys. He was on campus as well. He is a monstrous defensive tackle from Alabama. The floodgates are kind of open down in Alabama now. He's 6'6", he's 320. Let me see if I can find a photo of him and Ryan, because he is a gargantuan human being. Here he is with Ryan. So, Ryan was he was a D1. He played at New Hampshire, and this kid towers over him. There's mom and dad. He's 6'6". See, a 6'6" defensive tackle is kind of like a dream because, when these guys are these monstrous Southern defensive tackles, when you're 6'6", you're naturally going to have a different type of a reach advantage. So when you're watching some of his tape here, he's a very, very quick, disruptive kid. There he is. He's playing three technique on the outside shoulder of the guard. Prototypical kind of first round type move. This poor center has to back block him. Really has no chance. And he gets upfield, makes a really nice play. I mean, he's really quick for being 6'6", 320. I mean, this kid's genetically very gifted. Explosive. I mean, the way that he plays is perfect for what Larry Johnson likes to do in terms of disruption from his three techniques. I mean, this is a kid that would play early for us. He played very early for us. And, some of these plays, and again, I don't judge all these. Sometimes it's just good to see the movement skills. Obviously, this is a play where it's a blown assignment where nobody blocks the kid. But when you see his explosion and his ability to finish, obviously he's right up the field, makes the play. Sometimes you're just looking at the movement skills. Here, double team, the effort is great. See, this is a great play. And again, you guys are gonna say, well, Kirk, this isn't a sack. This isn't getting upfield. This is obviously. This is probably like a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 because you've got this funky kind of super near double fullback or two tight end look right here, and you've got this condensed. This is basically like a bear front. There's a three technique, a nose, two edges. I mean, this is like a diamond defense. So this is probably like a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. You've got a true 8-man box here, so this is not advantageous to run into. But they crease it. But the thing about this play, Notchik is like you see him. He's double teamed, so obviously it's tough to win the double team. But the effort is fantastic here because he takes an angle and he runs to the ball. And for a guy that's 320, I mean he's the guy that makes the play. And again, is it where you want the play to be? No, because it's they gained 10 yards on the play, but like the effort here is outstanding. And that is something to get excited about when you're you're evaluating a defensive lineman is the effort. Because it's not just about, wow, he made these splash plays and he got sacks and he did, he had his dominating plays, but like, you want to see, does he play with effort, especially against the run? And here with this pursuit angle, like that's probably my favorite clip. And he's got a lot of great clips because the kid, again, he's a big, freaky athlete. Again, like he's as good of a D tackle as there probably is in the country. And he's just a physical force. And again, this is a kid that if Nick Saban was there, I don't even know if we'd call him because he's an Alabama kid. And you know what I say about like kids from Alabama and Louisiana? If they're superstars like this kid, they're going to go to Bama or LSU. It's natural, or Auburn. But I think that the wall of Helms Deep has been kicked down by Ryan Day, and I think Carlos Lachlan could be a home period. Obviously, this is going to be a full-on Larry Johnson deal, but Carlos Lachlan being from Alabama, I think is something that is. I think it adds some comfort to the folks, to the family when you come. Hey, we got someone. He's from Pike Road, Alabama, so it's just different. Because I don't know if we've had a coach from Alabama on our staff in the 20 years I've been around the program. So I think it's fantastic. I'm checking out. I like this Sean Rollins. Good evening, everyone. And Michigan still sucks. I love when you guys check in with stuff like that. I think that's fantastic. Devin, I agree. I wasn't impressed by Washington at all, but they made it to the final 2, which is amazing. And now they're basically kind of a forgotten program because their staff. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer went to Bama, but their best offensive coaches went to the Seattle Seahawks. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they can get done down at Alabama with that stuff. But Jed Fish has got a lot working for him at Washington. Washington is a very scary place to play at because I played there, and not scary, but it's very loud. It's a great, beautiful area of the country. If the Buckeyes get out there in a few years, you guys should go check it out. Played there in 2007, and stadium's loud. It's right on the water, so you see the boats floating by. It's pretty cool. Karis Washington at Kirk, at what age do we start scouting a future player? I'd say the earliest would be 8th grade, and that is like if it's a true phenom, like a Tyler Atkinson or a Chris Henry Jr., a kid that is kind of a grown man when he's an 8th, 9th grader. JJ Smith was kind of on the radar about 9th grade. These kids, they start coming to youth camp 7th, 8th grade. It's not nearly as serious as the college camps. That are like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Those are like the recruiting camps. But if a kid's a phenom, we'll get on him eighth grade. I mean, we offered Tyler Atkinson when he was a freshman, just because he was so dominant at camp, and he didn't look like a ninth grader. He's a kid that one of the best players in his class. He's been playing a lot, but I think it's eighth grade is probably the earliest, I'd say. And you've got to be pretty phenomenal to get on the radar then. And plus, like, you always have to wonder, do kids burn out? Do kids get injured? Do kids get a million carries from their high school coach by the time they get into the league, or get into college? Do they have anything left? I mean, I've seen that with running backs where they'll get 400 carries for 4 straight years, starting with their freshman year, and by the time they get into the program with Ohio State, their knees are sawdust, and they're just kind of guys. I mean, there's a guy that's a very obvious name that a lot of you guys would know, and he had a major workload when he was down there, and he just turned into nothing at Ohio State because his knees were just gone. So I'd say like probably 8th, 9th grade, Karis. Appreciate you guys. I hope you guys are having a good night. Also, we got a bunch of super chats coming here. I just want to see. Dev, what is up, my man? I appreciate you. As always, thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for being a Scoop Hall of Famer. Thank you for being a Wrench brother. Thank you for being a great dude. I appreciate you. I hope you and Cujo and your girlfriend are having a great night. Can you explain what it is about Chip Kelly's scheme that will make it easier on the offensive line? That is a great question. I have long admired Chip Kelly's scheme because he loves to do a lot of misdirection. He likes to do a lot of plays that look very similar, but the balls go different spots. He likes to use the entire field. He's a lot like Urban. Urban learned that from Randy Walker and later Chip Kelly, kind of the modern kind of spread offense. And he likes to run the quarterback, which is it's a whole other level when you've got a guy that can run the quarterback. But I think that being deceptive on offense is a huge edge for the offensive line because it makes the guys that have to read their keys, aka linebackers, hesitant because they don't know who has the ball, especially if you've got a read option game. And Chip loves to be outside the box. Like, he loves to do stuff that stresses defenses, stresses defensive coordinators. He likes to add a lot of different wrinkles week to week. And I think that now that he's got the most talented group he's ever been able to do that with, it's just gonna kind of it's gonna exponentially show the power of what Chip likes to do. I've always been a fan of it because he's a lot like Urban. I mean, they would do incredible things with very average offensive lines, average to below average offensive lines. They would shred teams because they were so deceptive. Like, I watched the 07, if you guys want to watch a good game on YouTube, where Chip was dominant, 07 Michigan game. They went to the big house. They went to Ann Arbor, and they absolutely destroyed Michigan in Ann Arbor. And it was like, I thought Dennis Dixon was going to win the Heisman. I mean, they looked. I watched that film after we lost Illinois. I sat and watched that entire Oregon game in the Woody Hayes at like 11:30 at night. And we just lost as the number 1 team in the country on senior day. And I was so angry and miserable. And I don't want to see my mom. I didn't want to see my girlfriend. I didn't want to see anybody because I was so beside myself that we could screw the pooch that bad that I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to go watch film because the only thing I could think to do was go work out and go watch film, which is what I did. Like, I didn't go out to eat. I didn't go out on the town. I didn't want to see anybody because honestly, I was scared I would be violent. I was so angry. And I watched Chip Kelly's offense that night versus Michigan's defense. Because, when you're an offensive player, you study Michigan's defense. And so you watch Oregon, you watch their most recent game. I watched them versus, I think, Penn State. And Oregon was unbelievable. And I was like, this scheme is crazy. I watched their UCLA stuff last year, and it was good. It was even better 2 years ago when he had a real quarterback in DTR who's with the Browns now running it. So I think the biggest thing is this deception. It's not just 3 yards in a cloud of dust and run ISO and power over and over again like Woody Hayes and Jim Tressel did. And again, I love Jim Tressel because we used to pulverize teams, but we did it a very difficult way. It was like trench warfare. There wasn't a lot of deception. It wasn't like it wasn't a very surgical offense. It was more of like doing surgery with a hacksaw. But it worked. And again, we won a lot of games, and Jim Tressel won a national championship, and he's in every Hall of Fame known to man for for college coaching, and he deserves that. But Urban's offense added something different. And I like that. And again, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. And I love Jim Tressel as much as any human being in the world. But Chip's his innovation and his speed spread is going to be a sight to behold. Coconut Dreams. I love this. They did not win the Natty. Would you stop saying that, Kirk? They effing cheated. I love that. Well, I mean, they got to take it away from them, but I apologize. My bad. Any other Scoop Ultra? All right. Googs, what is up, my man? Like this. You mentioned O-line play with a nasty physical domination mindset. It has to pick up intensity-wise. I agree. I think that they got to get a little bit more out of some of these guys. And again, that's on Justin Fry. That's on Chip Kelly. It's on Ryan. It's on Mickey Marotti. Again, Michigan's offensive line has been better than ours. At least last year they were. 2 years ago, I thought our lines were similar. Obviously they beat us. I thought they were better at quarterback last year than we were. But 2 years ago we had CJ Stroud, and we just, some small mistakes cost us. So seeing if there's any other Scoop Ultra questions, and I'm going to get into these super chats. Again, appreciate you guys as always keeping with us. What is up, Andy Joe? I see the Taylor gang is in the building. What is up, Thomas? And also sorry for your loss. I know you guys lost one of Andy Joe's grandparents, so I apologize for that. I saw that. So I hope you guys are doing okay with that. Goose. All right. Here's another question. And if I miss any of your questions, I apologize. I'm trying to scan through the chat and make this an efficient show. So appreciate you guys. Kirk, do you think the rotation and combinations along the O-line will effectively establish the missing consistency and execution of physical domination sought, no matter the play calls, etc.? Well, I think they need to shore up these rotations and combinations in training camp. I thought what they did in training camp last year was malpractice. And again, I'm very fair when it comes to evaluating the team, the players, the O-line, etc. But I thought the way they were rotating the offensive lines last year during camp, they couldn't ever get five guys to get the type of chemistry they needed to be great because they're shuffling so much, because they're trying to keep everyone happy. They're trying to evaluate everybody. And I think eventually you're just going to have the balls to say, hey, all right, this is our starting five, and let's see how it goes. And if a guy doesn't perform, then you can swap him out. But I thought the constant swapping of players, I didn't think it helped us, especially early in the season. I think they could potentially do a little bit of that this year to try to figure out the best combination at center and right guard. But as of right now, I think that the chalk is Carson Hinsman, right guard, Seth McLaughlin at center, and then the rest of the guys are pretty much inked up with Josh Fryer. And again, I think Josh Fryer, his pass protection keeps him at right tackle, along with Josh Simmons. And then, Donnie Jackson is in ink at left guard. So I think that they got to shore that up as best they can. And Bullet Train, thank you for 2 months of Scoop Ultra membership. Appreciate you, my friend. Do you think Justin Fry will get the job done this year? I do. I think Justin, it's a big year for Justin, but he's got every edge you could ever want at this point. Chip Kelly hired Justin as a Chip, hired Justin as his line coach / offensive coordinator. I think that he's got that comfort level with Justin. I think that adding Will Howard, who is a much more mobile quarterback, helps the offensive line. And I think that this is another year in the system for Josh Simmons and even Josh Fryer. I mean, Josh Fryer, you got to remember, Josh Fryer is a guy that I'm higher on than probably anybody. Tore his ACL in the Michigan game in a freak accident up there in 21. Yes, in 21. And so he's warming up, tears his ACL during warm-ups, which is very, very strange. Just a complete freak accident. So he's out for a long time. Then, he's coming back from the ACL last year, 2 years ago in 22. And then in 23, he's a year and a half out of it. But I think his league's going to be much better, much stronger this upcoming year. And he's going to be locked in at tackle this year. He's not going to be playing as much guard, or if any guard, because he's a much better guard than he's a tackle. But he's a good tackle. Like I said, he made first team All Big Ten last year playing tackle. So again, I'm higher on him than most people are, and I think that he's a guy that is really got a lot of upside, and I think he's going to do really a fantastic job this year. But I think Justin Fry, it's a big year for him, but I think that with our tackles being, second year starters, we got a lot of guys that are back for, this is year 2 starting for Josh Simmons. And I'm talking about starting at Ohio State. I know Josh Simmons started at San Diego State. It's not the same to me. Josh Fryer, returning starter. We're going to have a lot of depth this year between Carson Hinsman and Seth McLaughlin. I think George Fitzpatrick's got a lot of upside. I think Tigra's got to figure it out. He's got a lot of growing up to do off the field to be great. So it's going to be interesting to see who steps in as that third tackle and who's the next guy in on the interior should somebody break a shoelace and you have to put someone in. So I think Fry does a great job. And in terms of the OHIO, appreciate you as always. Let me see if I got any more of these. Now we'll get into the Ultra deals. Appreciate you guys. You guys are killing it in this chat. This is a monster chat. Jared Brandon, appreciate you. Good to be here, brother. What are the chances we land at Faison Brandon? I'd love to see that name on a Buckeye uni. Laugh aloud, OHIO. Appreciate you, my man. I think it's a good shot, man. It's a puncher's chance. I think this is going to be one that's going to be, this will be an NIL one. Our NIL's been killing it. But I think that, a lot of these guys that are in positions like Faison Brandon, they realize that this is a business decision. This is a very high level decision. And, chasing fast money is obviously it's great. These guys are good. These quarterbacks get a ton of money off the rip. But to get in Ryan Day's system, the way he developed CJ Stroud, Tavian St. Clair, these guys that he's going to have coming through this pipeline, it'll be interesting to see what he does with Will Howard this year. If he makes Will Howard into an elite quarterback this year, shores up his footwork, his mechanics, makes him more accurate, which he can do, then I think this will be one of his best projects. But you can't ignore if I'm a young quarterback, the two guys I want to play for are Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley. Period, point blank, the end. I don't think anyone's close to those two guys. You look at the guys that they've put in the league. You look at the success they've had. Ryan hasn't had a Heisman Trophy winner yet. Lincoln's had a couple of those, but Ryan put CJ Stroud into the league, who's probably better than anyone Lincoln's put into the league. He is better than anyone Lincoln's put in the league. And, Lincoln's had Baker, Kyler, Caleb Williams. So two young guys, two sharp guys, two guys that are going to develop you into a quarterback. So I think we got a puncher's chance on Faison Brandon. And, again, I think when he looks at the receiver room that he'd be walking into, because the way Brian's recruiting receivers, man, if you're a quarterback, I just don't know how you don't automatically put Ohio State in your top 3 when you're a kid like the number 1 player in the country in Faison Brandon. So I think we got a good shot at him, but it's going to be up until the edge of signing day. See if I got any more. This is a big time deal. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to get into these super chats and making sure I don't have any ultra deals. Thank you for all my guys kicking it on the group text as well. You guys are crazy. You guys do about 5,000 ones. Pooh I love this. Joy Lane, hope you guys are having a good weekend, KB. With Nevada not here and Funky not co-hosting, do you think this will fuel the conspiracy theorists who think they are the same person? Well, Funky actually has to work. Funky is he's my little dude, but he's at his job right now. So I did reach out to Funky. They are absolutely not the same person, I can promise you. But that is hilarious. I mean, it is funny because I don't think if Nevada was doing his AI Funky voice, he'd be calling guys Sony Styles. I still make fun of Funky because he's calling Sunny Styles Sony Styles. So they are not the same guy. But I appreciate you, Pooh, for pointing that out. But yeah, Funky was he was my first call. And I love Funky. He's hilarious. Great person. Yeah, and again, I just was tossing this in there. If you guys are Scoop Ultra members, you guys get a free question. And I do have a bunch of super chats that are piling up, so I'm going to get into those. I'm just trying to make sure I get all these Scoop Ultra questions because they don't really get flagged in here. So I'm at the bottom of it. Yes, Steely. Our group text was hilarious all day, so I appreciate you. And Doreen, I know that you're not watching this out, but congratulations. Doreen's daughter graduated from The Ohio State University today. So I believe she's probably having graduation dinner with her. I'm sure you're very proud, Doreen, Queen Doreen. So thank you for that. Okay, let's get into a couple more of these super chats. Appreciate you guys. St. Pete Buckeye, thank you for the 10. If it's St. Petersburg, Florida, I assume, I'm sure you had glorious weather today. So I hope you enjoyed it. How much did Ryan Day not having a real offensive coordinator and holding onto the play calling hurt him against the team up north and college football playoff the last 4 years. I can't be happier he finally helped himself this offseason. Well, I think it hurts not having competent people around you, because I think that you and again, like, he hired Corey Dennis as a favor to Urban Meyer, which is great. Corey Dennis is one of the greatest human beings in the world. I love Corey Dennis to death. He got a job that, frankly was that's a big job. To be the quarterback coach at Ohio State when you're that young and you haven't really had a real job before, that's a big job. It's tough. And then, when you've got Ryan kind of loitering over it because he's a quarterback guy and he's made, tens of millions of dollars being a fantastic quarterback developer, like, it doesn't make his job easy. But, I think Ryan's a control freak, and that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of guys that are control freaks in the coaching profession that do great things. But Ryan had to develop into being a better head coach, and again, sometimes, like, when you're, I guess, paranoid about having someone else call plays for you, it's hard to hand over that play sheet. And again, that is not me being negative towards Ryan Day. I'm being a little critical of Ryan Day, but I'm not being negative because, again, when you're outstanding at it, like Ryan is at calling plays and running a game, it's really hard to hand that off, especially when you don't have anyone in the building outside of Kevin Wilson who's ever called plays before. And again, I think that Kevin Wilson could have taken the play sheet and done a great job, but Ryan wasn't ready to do that. So getting Chip Kelly here, who is Ryan's mentor and probably Ryan's, one of his best friends in the entire world, Ryan trusts him. And, Chip's the guy that coached Ryan when they were both, basically nobodies playing, coaching and playing at New Hampshire. Nobody had ever heard of them. They've got a relationship that goes all the way back to that. And, Ryan worked for Chip Kelly with the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, kind of all over the map. And Chip Kelly got Ryan Day the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State because he called Urban Meyer. And Ryan, Chip Kelly and Urban Meyer are very close. Chip Kelly is the guy that would clinic with Urban in the offseason, teach him his concepts, why he does stuff the way he does it. When you're that innovative, and like I always say, like people can say they're all about Chip Kelly, but Bill Belichick and Nick Saban and Urban Meyer all want to clinic with him and learn why he does what he does. So 3 of the greatest coaches in the history of any sports all love Chip Kelly and want to learn more about his offensive schemes and prowess and practice habits and how he runs the organization, why they practice on Fridays instead of Thursdays. And he did all this like crazy stuff. And, people like to know why do you do this? What's the psychology and the physiology behind it? And so I think Ryan having Chip is just so huge. And again, things couldn't have broke better for Ohio State this offseason. Bill O'Brien, who I think is a great coach, going to Boston College is the greatest thing that ever happened to Ohio State because we got Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's the guy that left a head coaching job at UCLA, not at Idaho State. Like, he's like coaching in a Big Ten school in Los Angeles in one of the prettiest parts of the entire country. And he left it to come help Ryan. And that's a boondoggle for Ohio State and Ohio State's fans. So I thought it hurt Ryan. And I think that, after, 5 years of coaching with his maturity, he rectified it and he hired the right guy for the job in Chip Kelly. So that's a fantastic question. I appreciate you, St. Peak Buckeye. Speedman 606, thank you for the 10. Burke, just wanted to thank you so much for the shout out for my grandson, Leo. Hi, Leo. I hope you're watching again tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. He was amazed. Poppy knew someone on TV. Well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. He's a great kid, and watching his reaction was priceless. Well, that's awesome. Thanks to you and Scoop Nation, OHIO. I appreciate you. Well, again, we and I don't say this slightly, like, we pride ourselves on being a family-friendly show. And again, we have great partners that are sponsors, and we say, look, we have, young kids that watch this. We have, we have older folk that watch, all over the spectrum of people that watch this. And we want it to be clean. We want it to be proud. Again, like, if someone that I know from a professional standpoint watches my show, I don't want them to be embarrassed of what they see on the TV or what they hear come out of my mouth. So we're very cognizant of that. Now, again, we're very, we've got an edge, and we can be critical, but we do it. We like to have fun. We like to have comedic relief. We know a lot of people times are tough sometimes. And, people, sometimes I feel like I get these really incredible messages from people that say, Kirk, the show helps get me through my day. Had a hard day at work, going through a lot. I have people that have gone through lose their job, divorce, kids aren't doing good, whatever. And they hit me up and say, your show really helps me. So again, I take that as a personal responsibility. Like, look, we got to show up, we got to work, and we got to bring it. Like, I can't just show up and just like kind of lay it up there and hope you guys think it's good. I really pride myself on making sure that the show is good. And again, I appreciate people like you because it just makes me happy that your grandson enjoyed it. And he got a kick out of that. And again, like little things like that help make my day. So I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot to me. And again, I appreciate you guys being a part of the Scoop family. Because again, I take that very seriously. And those of you that saw how, myself and Kim and Doreen and the whole crew, how we worked the event at Buffalo Wild Wings, like you saw, like I don't take that lightly. I want everyone to have a good time. I want everyone to have fun. Karis Washington, like the whole crew, all you guys that were there, like I said, I want you guys to have a good time. I want you guys to have some camaraderie. I want you guys to look forward to being in the chat. And again, like I always tell you guys, like, look, if you're not members of BuckeyeScoop.com, like we've got thousands of people that are members of BuckeyeScoop.com, and they're a lot like you guys, and they're on the chats all day, and we're watching the Cavs game together earlier, and it's a hoot. So I hope you guys consider joining BuckeyeScoop.com. Not trying to plug a commercial in there, but we do have an amazing group of people on there. And if you guys like the golf, the BuckeyeScoop.com golf outing is July 30th. If you're members of BuckeyeScoop.com, you're welcome to attend. And it's always a fantastic event. So I'd love for you guys to see you guys on there. All the details are on BuckeyeScoop.com. So I appreciate you, Speedman606. Thank you, my friend. Kevin Miller, thank you for the 5. Yo, Scoop family. I know Ryan hated the clock not stopping post first down. Any role on that rule change coming or that rule changing back? I don't think it is. I haven't heard anything. Now, I also haven't looked. That'd be a pretty big deal if that changed. Again, I know Ryan kind of bemoaned how fast the games go now, but it's like we live in this weird time where they pass these rules and they say, oh, it's to make the game quicker. And it's like, I don't really know that many people that complain about the games being too long, because I never feel like they're that long. But all they did was, instead of making the games get done quicker, is they just put in more television timeouts. So now you have 20 TV timeouts a game now instead of 10 or 15, because they make everything go faster, and then you have more TV time. So it is kind of comical. I would like for that rule to come back, because the games did seem quick, and the plays were down, but it wasn't like the games got over much quicker, because again, they just plug in TV timeouts. So smooth operating there by the NCAA and the television networks that are the overlords of college football. But I'd love for that to come back, but I have not seen anything regarding that. Stephen Oglesby, thank you for the 20. What are the odds we get David Sanders Jr.? Ooh, sorry, I got here late. I mean, this is going to be, I don't know if I can set odds on it. I mean, I think that we're absolutely, again, just being a tea leaf reader, he's been up here 3 times in like 2 months. So, and when you do these unofficial visits, that's on your own dime. I mean, you're driving up here, you're flying up here. The part of the world he's from isn't exactly the furthest. I mean, people, it's not that hard to get to Columbus from where he's from, and I know a lot of people like to say, oh, well, all these other schools are closer. It's really not. I mean, especially if you're near a major airport like Columbus. The thing about Columbus and Ohio State is, they've got a great airport. So, when you say, oh, it's so far away, I'm like, well, not really. I mean, he lives in Charlotte. So, I mean, Charlotte, there's probably, 4 or 5 direct flights a day from Charlotte to Columbus. So, and if you want to drive it, I mean, it's not, I'm literally going to pull it up on maps right now. It's just not far, so people act like, oh, well, Charlotte is such a haul from, from Columbus, but it's just not. Like, it's just not true. I mean, it's a 6.5 hour drive, which is probably a 90-minute flight. So, again, if you're David Sanders and you're getting a big NIL check, like, you can book all the flights in advance for your parents, and away you go. And they'll never have to worry about anything. Because, they act like, I feel like these SEC schools say, oh, well, it's all the way up in Ohio. But, like, like it's 6.5 hours. Like if you throw this map up right now and you see like, okay, where's Columbus at compared to Charlotte? Okay, so you've got 6 hours and 50 minutes. And then you're like, okay, so where's Alabama? Obviously, Clemson's going to be closer, South Carolina, Georgia. I mean, it's not that big of a difference, and especially when you can just go to the airport and jump on a flight, which is what I would do. I would never drive 7 hours each way. Then you can go, I mean, you're there in 90 minutes, two big airports, and I don't know. So I feel like we've got a good shot with David Sanders. He's been up here 3 times. He's going to take an official. He's obviously not going to camp. He's too good to camp. But yeah, I think he's going to be, he's a big fish. I mean, this could be kind of, this could be Justin Fry's Roman Empire at this point, man. If he gets David Sanders Jr., he gets a gargantuan, like king size, like a King Kong sized gorilla off of his back, because like the monkey on Justin's back, he hasn't been able to pull a 5-star tackle. And this would be not just a 5-star tackle. This might be the best player in the country. And if Justin pulls him, I think and some of it, like I said, some of that's overrated. I think some of it's like these kids like the proximity. Jordan Seaton went to play for Coach Prime at Colorado, which is literal career suicide in my opinion. So I don't know. Like some of these kids are beyond help. Samson Okunlola chased the bag to Miami. So again, like, can you blame Justin Fry for all that? I guess. It is his position. At the end of the day, if you're dealing with integrity, everything's your fault if you don't get it done. But I just think, man, like when the guy goes to play for Coach Prime, it's almost like losing Chantrell Henderson. Like people wanted to drop nuclear bombs on top of the Woody Hayes when we lost Chantrell Henderson to USC. And, he goes to USC for 5 minutes. They get hit with the death penalty. And then all of a sudden he goes to Miami, the Hurricanes, and he sucked down there. He gets drafted like the 6th or 7th round of the draft. Doesn't do anything in the National Football League. I mean, might have played like 2 years in the league. So, again, I always want to look back and see how bad are these guys. Is it real, or is this a guy that's a huge loss? And sometimes they are. But, if you lose a guy to Georgia or to Bama, like, I mean, you just tip your hat. I mean, dude, like if I lose a guy to the Georgia Bulldogs, like they're the best program in the country right now. But, and we're right next to them. But they've won 2 national championships in the last 3 seasons. So sometimes you got to tip your hat to it. But David Sanders Jr. is, I mean, that's the guy I'm pushing all in for. I'm getting the NIL loaded up for. He's a different monster, different animal. So, yeah, I hope Justin's eating his Wheaties and he's getting ready to rock. St. Pete Buckeye, thanks for the 5, actually flew up to Cleveland for 2 Guardians games and Cavs game 7. Back to form. That is fantastic. Well, I'm glad you got to see a great game in the, I still call it Gund Arena, even though I know it's Quicken Loans Arena, the Gund Arena. Donovan Mitchell is a monster. I was very happy. I love seeing Cleveland and Ohio win and be happy. So it was nice for us to get that game 7 done, because they've got a massive series versus Boston. Boston's really scary and really good. So we will see what we can do. Let's see if I've got any other. Donald and Karen, welcome back. I hope you guys are doing good tonight as well. Appreciate you, my friends. Let's see if we got any other super chats. I don't think we do. This is a super chat, or excuse me, this is an ultra show tonight. So when we do these ultra shows, if you're a Scoop Ultra member, basically you can ask us questions, and it's like a super chat. I try to make sure everybody gets at least one answered. If you guys have any additional ones, you can knock those out. But if not, then we can probably get close to wrapping this thing up. Kimbo is holding it down. Appreciate you, Kim. Kim was cooking up a storm today. So Kim's great because she'll cook dinner, and I usually work out for about an hour and a half. Kim has dinner ready about a half hour before the show. I eat dinner in about literally 2 minutes. Run upstairs, make sure everything's turned on, hit a shower, brush my teeth, make sure get a little shave, and then we rock, and then we get knock out a good show. So we have another super chat. Pooh Beard, what's up, brother? Oh God, oh man, I you know what's funny, Pooh Beard, is I saw this, and I know that you're as astute and as sharp as we got, but I actually ripped the photo of this because you want to talk about what first round looks like. There it is. That is what first round, top of the draft. Like, just get him a shot in the green room right now for the draft in 4 years. Corey Moore anchored the 4x2 relay that set the national high school record. That is flying. In the history of high school track, they ran the fastest times. 4x2 updates on where we stand after last weekend. Him, Jamie French, Vernell Brown, and Dez would be insane. I mean, with Brian Hartline, I never say never. And this is a kid that he's the best receiver in the country. He looks like a JJ. He's not as big as JJ. He's probably not as good as JJ, but nobody's as good as JJ. He might be a slight shade behind JJ, which still makes him as good as any receiver prospect we've had. And he is an absolute speed demon monster. Again, but I like to put this on the screen because like this is an 18-year-old kid, guys, and he looks like an NFL grown man that could have been drafted in at rookie minicamp playing for the Los Angeles Chargers this weekend. Like, I mean, that's freaky big, freaky athletic, and obviously ridiculously fast. If he anchored the 4x2 team, that means he's the fastest guy on the squad. So yeah, him, Jamie French, Vernell Brown Jr., and Dez would be crazy. And I'm just really excited about this kid's future. And again, I think that, him popping back up here, when these guys, they're all taking notice of what is going on at Ohio State, because when you're this kid, you just want to go somewhere where they're going to help you work on your craft, perfect yourself, and just catapult you into the first round of the NFL draft. And they've proven that they can do it. Like, again, if you are a wide receiver and you have this kid's ability, and you have an offer from Ohio State, which is like an offer from Ohio State and Brian Hartline when you play wide receiver, it's like being Charlie Bucket or Veruca, and you get the golden ticket to go to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and potentially win the whole chocolate factory. That's what it's like now. So, I'm just saying, this kid, he's got a decision to make now. I mean, and again, these kids are getting smarter. It's a business decision. It's a 3-year sacrifice. You might not be as close to home as you want to be. He's a Texas kid, but I'm not trusting another human being on this earth over Brian Hartline if I'm a wide receiver. And like, if I'm a wide receiver and I get that offer, I'm committing that minute. I'm not even waiting. And then we'll figure out the NIL stuff later, because the NIL stuff's great, but like, look at what, say Marvin Harrison got $1 million. Say he got $2 million last year in NIL money. Like, his rookie contract he signed is going to be like $32 million. So NIL is cute and it's great. And it's great to be able to go eat at Whole Foods Market instead of the soup kitchen like we had to do before. I'm just kidding. Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but you get to that first round, the top of that first round, that's life-changing, game over money. And then you get that second contract, like, Justin Jefferson, Marvin's going to sign for $30 million, like for his deal. Justin Jefferson's going to sign for $40 million a year for probably 4 years. So, that's the next step in the pantheon. So, again, this kid, he's got all that. And honestly, Pooh Bear, that was so good. I'm actually going to throw his film on real quick, and then we'll get out of here with that. But he's a different cat now. I'm telling you, like, you can go get that kid and you get David Sanders. I mean, you're talking about not just the best class in Ohio State history, best class in college football history. I mean, that's what's scary, is like they're on the edge of that. And Jamie French is no slouch. Jamie French is, if DeCorian is if he's JJ, Jamie French is like Garrett Wilson. And I got that from, our friends at South Florida Express. They said that's who he is. And I'm like, ooh. I mean, you talk about good. I mean, Garrett is one of those guys, it's about as bad as it gets, But I love the I'm gonna throw this film on because DeCorian is unbelievable. What a great player. So yeah. Well, I think we can wrap this up. I saw I know Kenny got thanks for the 5, Kenny. I got to ban you right away for that. So they don't last very long around here. We got a good wrench crew. But DeCorian's film is crazy. And again, when you're the anchor of the fastest 4x2 team in history, uh, that was crazy. So, well, with that being said, we can ratchet that up. And like I said, this guy's film is it's something. I mean, this is a guy you get him and JJ in the same offense. I don't know what's gonna happen, man. I'm telling you, this is it'd be scary. Now, I mean, this will be us, Texas, Bama. This will be a big NIL, but again, this is the kind of kid you win championships with, and in our throwing offense, like I just don't know why a kid like this wouldn't want to come here, but speed kills, and this kid is electricity every time he touches the field, which is absolutely amazing. So, well, yeah. Well, I think I will wrap this thing up. Watch a little bit more Decorian. Final thoughts. Again, just appreciate you guys being on here. Nevada is back tomorrow. So we'll have a loaded up show for you guys tomorrow. We'll get his comments on the David Sanders visit. I'm sure more will come spilling out of that. But yeah, it's interesting. It was kind of a secret visit, and then the town hall sleuths were out in full force, and they saw David Sanders and Justin Fry, and these guys when they do these unofficial visits, they love taking the kids to town hall because the vibe is incredible. It's a great spot, and I absolutely love going there. The best, one of the best places in Columbus, along with my beloved Buffalo Wild Wings. Take a quick sip. Watch some Decorian, but yeah, this will be a good one. Yeah, but Pooh Beard, you're right. This guy can fly. So, well, think we will wrap this thing up. As always, appreciate you guys for kicking it with us. Great Sunday night. I hope you guys had a great weekend as we launch into this week. Camps are starting up this week. We'll have full coverage on BuckeyeScoop.com. Looking forward to you guys hopefully jumping on that message board, because the message board has been on fire. Big Cavs thread, big series coming up with the Celtics. We're going to have a lot of camp coverage. Joe Drain will be out in force. It's going to be fantastic. And I look forward to seeing you on there. With that being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys each and every night that kick it with us. The chat was awesome tonight, and I hope you guys had a great time conversing with each other. Again, this was a great episode, a huge episode because you guys made it one, as always. It was great being here. It was great having you guys. So I appreciate you guys always. Again, like I always say, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. And I hope you guys have a great night. There's some good hockey on right now, so I'm going to go tune into that as I'm editing this show. But I hope you guys enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Go Bucks.